Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Talk the Ting with yours truly, Dwayne, Hardley, and Rajiv.
Good night.
Sorry about the late start. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. Technology already, you can't depend on it. But we want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to
It's been
Talk the Ting.
a long journey. We know that we promised a few times to be on, and we were not. So we apologize for that. Try to be more consistent moving forward, but we're gonna look forward and not backward.
Yep.
So, with that said, we have one of the biggest media personalities on the island with us tonight.
Not just biggest media, but biggest female media personalities.
Well, I wanted to say biggest overall, but thanks for pointing that out. What are you drinking there, my brother? Green tea?
Well, tonight we're doing tea.
No, not we, not you.
I drink it my black man.
I have some Jack.
So everyone, I hope you guys have fun with us tonight. If you guys have any questions, comments, the chat feature is always there. We'll try to engage as much as we can. We try to ask the guests some of your questions, and try to make this fun, right? So with that said,
share the live.
We want to introduce Miss Ferdina Frampton to Talk the Ting.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. On the other side.
Good evening.
You're on the other side of the mic tonight, eh?
Yeah.
I am. I promise I'm going to behave.
Well, let's pray
I'm
against
going to be a good girl.
pray against one. So if you
Yes.
We should.
And 3 guys. I ain't scared.
You shouldn't be.
That's the spirit, man. That's the spirit.
Ferdina, welcome to Talk the Ting.
Well, thank you very much. It is my pleasure.
And thank you for finally accepting. We've been lobbying you for how long now?
It's been a few months, and there were times when you would message and I would not respond. And you'd message again, and I'd probably respond. But guess what, though, Hadley and Rajiv and Dwayne, I am happy when I decided to do it.
We're happy too.
Yes, I'm happy. I decided to do it because I mean, for so many years, I've been on the other side of the mic, interviewing and talking to other people. And, upon reflection, the final time you asked, I said, you know what, Ferdina, you get people to come on, you speak to them. Why not be on the other side of the mic? So, let's see how we're going to do this tonight.
All right.
Hey, man,
Well, very casual. If you have heels on, you can put on your flats.
That's why I take out those heels long time. I thought you had shook. I'm like Wendy Williams, so I had it on standby.
We're not dead. So Ferdina, I mean,
Hold on. Doing your recording?
Oh boy, you're right. I'm sorry about that. All right, we're live now. We're live. All right.
We're live and we're recording.
So, growing up in Dominica, I'm in my mid-30s, and I heard your voice on the radio all the time. And
oh my God, Dwayne, are you trying to make it seem like I'm so old?
No. You might. From what I heard, you started at 5. So
close enough.
You just start early.
Yeah, you start early.
I did.
So who is Ferdina Frampton? For the people who Well, I mean, let me not say for people who don't know.
I've always
For you on that live now.
customary. One talk the thing. You have to start with your village. You have to, you have to start from there.
I see.
The
Okay,
original village, eh?
so Ferdina Frampton, Fernanda is my middle name, hence the reason why on DBS radio I would be called Triple F by some of my listeners to the radio. So it's Ferdina Fernanda Frampton. And my father, I was the first girl child for my father after 3 or 4 boys. So he was really excited about that and he decided he wanted to name me after him. My father's name was Ferdinand. So he removed the N and the D from his name and he gave me Ferdina, changing the emphasis of the I, and his middle name was Fernando as well. That was one of his names. And so he decided to name me Fernanda and the Frampton. I come originally from a village in the south, the village of Pishle. Unfortunately, I didn't spend too much time in Pishle, but that is the village that I'm from. I would have moved with my parents to Loubier eventually. And then at some point I lived at Canefield. And then finally I lived with my dad and my stepmom in Point Michel for a very long time, from the time I passed common entrance to my early 20s. So I really technically grew up in Point Michel.
Well, I'm from Soufriere, so we're gonna claim you down soon.
Okay, no problem.
Well, I don't think Pisha people are gonna be too happy about that.
People wouldn't be too happy, yeah.
And both my parents are actually from Pishle.
Wow.
Claim Boy Michelle for now.
Okay, we can do that.
So,
Go ahead, Andy, go ahead.
Ferdines, we know you for the media work, the entertainment, that voice. I think that is the voice that just takes everybody back. At what age did you get into media?
Okay, so as many persons would know, my father was one of the media stalwarts in Dominica. And my father at the time was working at Voice of the Islands Radio. I don't know if anybody remembers Voice of the Islands Radio among you guys. And so Father Herman Shapley, no, Voice of the Islands Radio. At the time, Father Herman Shapley was one of the guys working at the radio station. And I think he was leaving for whatever reason. I don't remember if it was to go off to study, for priesthood, or whatever the case might be. And so my father came and asked me if I would be interested in doing some of the weekend shifts, which were like 4 to 5 hours. At the time I was attending sixth form college. And I was very reluctant, to be quite frank with you, but I'll give some credit to my stepmother. I remember that she persuaded me, to fair, you understand, that kind of thing. And so I agreed, I decided to do it, and I started doing those weekend shifts, One of the things that I would really love to share is that I did an oldie goldie show on a Sunday afternoon, very young, 16 at the time, by the way. And I think persons probably wonder, but how she could know, that variety of oldies and so on. But my father he played a very, very important role in ensuring that when I get on that radio, that I would be playing the music that is supposed to be played. So my father would go through all of the records and he would take the Engelbert Humperdinck's and, the rest and all the popular songs from them. He would give me tons of record stacks and I would carry that upstairs to the studio and I would be playing all of that beautiful music on a Sunday that people would be enjoying and wondering, how was it possible that a 16-year-old knew all of that good music, but it was all credit to my father. So that is how I actually began in radio. It was Voice of the Islands Radio, as I said, and I enjoyed it from there. I started doing some news presenting as well and all of that. And that was my start.
So DJ Ferdines then?
Yes, man, on a Sunday.
Wow.
Did you say that you always had like an outgoing personality, or was that something that your father had to like grab out of you?
I think I always had that type of personality. In fact, Charmaine Green at DBS would always say that, Ferdinand, you have an infectious personality. I was always like that. Even, going to school, I was always troublesome. I would be seen lingering on the steps after the bell had rung and all of that. So I was always this outgoing person, always with this bubbly personality. So I think it wasn't something that I had to find. I think it was just naturally there.
So with that said, you studied at 16.
Yes.
Did you ever pursue any form of media training or schooling, anything of that nature?
Dwayne,
Marketing and sir.
somebody was asking something?
I said, I know you went to UE, right? So you did marketing.
I am currently at UE, and that's something that we will talk about. But in terms of broadcasting, no. A few trainings here and there. I went as far as Holland, to training and so on. But a 3-month training here, a 1-month training here, but no formal school for broadcasting. But guys, when something is naturally embedded in you, being the offspring of a man who was a stalwart in the business, somebody who executed it very well, I think it has come very natural to me. And as a result, even if I didn't get the formal training per se, to say go to a 2-year program or a 4-year program, I think the fact that it came natural to me, I could just make my way through this broadcasting thing.
His voice was very iconic on the radio as well.
Indeed.
Indeed. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like a kind of voice. Once Mr. Frampton start to speak, you could tell, like you just knew, like that was just one of the voices that that's who's speaking. So would you say that was one of your biggest influences as far as influence was from home?
Oh yes, I mean my father has to have been my biggest influence and my only influence for a very, very long time, until I got into the business and I met persons like Charmaine Green Brown, Felix Henderson, these types of people. But my father was definitely my biggest cheerleader, for one. He always had a lot of confidence in me. He always trusted that I would be able to do whatever it was that I set out to do in broadcasting, with his support as well. So my father, yes, definitely, has been my biggest cheerleader, my biggest supporter. And today, persons like my stepsister Gail and my stepmom as well, my brother Bernard, who is also another media stalwart, so it's been my father from the start, but other persons were added along the journey.
So I have this question. I know a lot of people in media, there's two sets, some who have that voice naturally, and some who have to flip that switch when they get in studios. Which one of those people are you?
The first one.
Natural.
The first one, because it's natural and hardly.
And before you go, the reason why I ask that is I know some people, like in the early stages of the career, have to try to find that voice.
I didn't have to find any voice. It was there naturally from the beginning. And I would really hope that even those who are currently in media, that they don't find themselves in a position where they have to find that voice. That voice should also come naturally. And you shouldn't be one person when you're on the radio and another person when you're off radio. That takes away from the authenticity of it all. So persons will meet me and they'll tell me, oh my God, you sounding just like you're on the radio. Hell yeah. because that's me, naturally. I do not need to put on, I do not need to do anything like that. So radio and media, yes, you can train, you can learn, but it's a lot of practice. You need to have the natural knack for it and all of that. So for me, it is the former, the first that you said, Hadley.
And I'll definitely co-sign that, because you know how Roseau is a very small place, and somebody like you, you would hear somebody like you speaking to somebody by the side of the road, and it's almost like not almost like, it's exactly like when they hear you speak to somebody in the streets of Louisville, it's like exactly on the radio. So you can relate to that like almost immediately. Oh wow, that's the girl from radio, that's the lady from radio. So I can co-sign the fact that yeah, you are the same on and off of the radio.
Yeah, man.
Indeed.
But now you said, so it's just kind of fascinating because I mean, as a 16-year-old, I cannot picture myself going into a radio station and playing music. And I mean, what was the nerves like? How did you deal with the nerves and all of those things doing that for your first time?
Dwayne, I will tell you, it was a bit nerve-wracking at the beginning because remember, keep in mind, I did not want to do it. I was not interested in doing it. So, you know, it was quite nerve-wracking. And I remember one time I was reading the news on Voice of the Islands radio, and something went wrong. And I remember using a bad term. Live on the and I swear that the radio station was run by a priest at the time, Father Conrad. He was he was going to say, "Don't come back." Matt may remember that very well because at the time Matt was the news editor at Voice of the Islands Radio, and he was the one, and I have to give Matt some credit as well. Matt was the one who saw that I also had the ability to do news presentation, and he was the first person to actually give me an opportunity to present the news on Voice of the Islands Radio. Matt Pelty. Thank you, Matt.
So,
I got an easy big up there.
Yes, indeed.
But I also saw that earlier in your stats that you had the Chronicle. So that means at some point you did some writing. So you went from writing, then you did some speaking, and then we'll go on to the next step in a while. But take us back to the writing parts.
Okay, so Voice of the Islands Radio at one point in time, it could no longer be sustained financially. So the radio station had to close down because even after I left Clifton Dupini Community College, I actually went in full-time at Voice of the Islands Radio. And I think just about 6 months after that, the radio station closed. And I remember that the Chronicle actually called me and offered me a job. But guess what? The gentleman who was the editor at the time, Mr. Rashid Osmond, I will never forget him, he was not interested in hiring females. He didn't like females. Wow. But then I went to meet with him, and obviously the personality, Mr. Osman just fell right in love with me and said, okay, no problem, I will hire you, but I'll let you know I do not like hiring females. I stayed there for a very short period of time, so it was basically going to functions, writing stories from the functions, doing something called street vibes, so I would go to town and, go ask people questions on a particular topic, that kind of thing. Wow. Yes, it was. I didn't like that.
You telling me you had YouTube before YouTube then?
I'm telling you, but guess what, Dwayne? I didn't like that. I didn't like.
Yeah.
So you had your little mic then. You had your little mic then walking around.
A little recorder. Yes. A little recorder, and you would record people, and you would get their information, and you would go back and prepare your little street vibes and photo camera too. So that's the very first place I learned to use a camera. So camera too, you take the photo and all of that, and you prepare your stuff. So I enjoyed being at the Chronicle. I mean, the people there were wonderful people. And I had the opportunity to write. So that's where I actually learned to write as well. So that's why, I consider myself an all-rounder in media. Yes.
So,
go ahead, Hadley.
So, you left the radio station, closed down, and then you went into writing.
Mm-hmm.
How was it like working in an environment knowing that you were hired, but there was like this thing hanging over your head, knowing that you almost like not wanted there to a certain extent? How was it? How was the experience working in such a condition?
Well, as I said before, the the news editor would have probably not wanted females. But once he met me, he really got to like me. And I had no issues with him. He had no issues with me. He would give me all my leeway and all my freedom that I wanted. So sometimes on the days when I went to the street vibes, if it took me an hour, no problem, I could stay or I could go home or whatever the case is. I really did not have any issues working at the Chronicle newspaper. I enjoyed it there. And as I said, there were really good people there. So no, it wasn't a challenge working there at all, knowing that initially the gentleman was not interested in hiring females.
Okay, so how did you get back into the radio?
Right. So while I was at the Chronicle, an opportunity came at DBS Radio, the nation station, for an announcer / reporter. Now, my father was the general manager at the time, right? However, my father did not get involved in the interview process. That was done by other members of staff, Sherman Green, I remember Miss Caesar, and I don't remember who the other person was. So he did not get involved in the interview process. And I think 3 or 4 of us might have been interviewed for that job. And I eventually got the job. Now, I know you might say, and others who may be viewing might say, well, if your father was the general manager, then it's obvious he would have gotten the job. So I don't know, hardly, to be honest with you, if my father had any input in me getting that job at DBS Radio. But all I know, I got the job, and from day one, I started working. I remember day one, I was already presenting. Angelo Allen is the one who gave me the name Ferdina. He was the news editor at the time. And Angelo Allen will probably give you a story about me. On that very day one, he sent me to read the news. 1:15, I'm going in to read the news. And I'm stuck. I don't know if you know DBS. DBS has 2 doors before you get into the actual, where the studios are. Mm-hmm. And I just stood there, frozen. I can't go further. And Angela said, Ferdina, come on. You need to go read the news. And I actually went in and I did a wonderful job of it. And, from there, I probably was one of the first persons to ever come to DBS and read news on the first day. So yes, so that is where I actually ended up, and where I stayed for about 9 years doing everything you can possibly think about.
Was that the 13, 15 total news?
That is it, hardly. That is it. With Stein saying.
But you know something, I just say that, right? So a lot of people have, they say that the number one fear that most people have is public speaking, right? Even bigger than death. And you said you were nervous, you stuck. Do you find that basically, like when you go to read the news or do a show or whatever, yeah, you're nervous, before, but once you go on stage or you start reading, do you find that it just kind of rolls off naturally, like that nervousness just kind of leaves and you just kind of run with it? Is that how you feel?
The nervousness was very temporary, very short-lived. For me, doing anything that involves public speaking, news presenting, representing my company flow, comes to me like drinking a glass of water.
So speaking speaking of flow, you went from being on the radio full time, and then I was somebody who used to read the newspaper and stuff like that a lot, and I see all of a sudden Ferdina Frampton joined it. It was Lime at the time, right?
Correct. It was Cable and Wireless. Yes, it was Cable and Wireless and B Mobile. B Mobile, it feels good. You all remember that?
Yep.
Hey, we must get a little snippet there. At least.
Yes.
What prompted that switch from the radio to a telecommunications giant? How did you decide on that? How did that even come to the doorstep?
Okay, so Rajiv, media in Dominica, I'll be honest and frank to say, it does not pay the type of salaries that it should. And I love media. I mean, if I could do media, I would do media for the rest of my life. But the fact that broadcasting, I said, boy, would I be able to do this if I remain in media? Would I be able to do that? I always knew in the back of my mind that I wanted to do something in corporate communications or public relations. I always knew that. So when that opportunity came, I was 9 years at DBS at the time. When that opportunity came, I I was told about it. So I had one or two people from Cable and Wireless at the time call me and say, listen, we're going to have a position coming up. You should, if you're interested, you should apply for it. I said, interesting. I went ahead and I applied. Again, it was four of us vying for that particular position. But I think what tipped it for me, the general manager at the time, he was an Antiguan man. I remember he sat in on my interview. The day I went for the interview, Rajiv, in parking, just outside the Prevost Cinema, I touched somebody's car. I don't know if I was nervous. I don't know what happened. I touched somebody's car that very day. It wasn't anything major, just a little touch. But I said, oh my God, that's not a good sign. But I eventually pulled myself together and I went up to Cable and Wireless and I had the interview done. And for whatever reason, I felt that the general manager at the time felt some kind of connection with me. Probably based on the way I spoke, probably based on how I came prepared. I came with my portfolio, my recommendation letters in there, all my stuff in there. In fact, I had done an ad for Cable and Wireless sometime before when they had, I think it was a Mercedes or something, gotta get those keys. So I actually was in a half-page newspaper ad for Cable. I walked with that. Listen, I came prepared for my interview. And that is something people need to do. If you're going to an interview, go prepared to get the damn job. Right. You understand what I mean? So I went prepared for that interview, and in the end I was called and told that I got the position at Cable and Wireless. And at the time the job was a corporate communications what was my title? Corporate communications assistant, something of the sort. Oh my goodness, I don't believe I cannot remember the name of what my job title actually was. But yes, and I worked with James Dominic at the time, and these were really, really good years, you know, working with Cable and Wireless as that in that corporate communications role. Eventually, I moved on to corporate communications manager. Then I moved on to marketing, and now I manage both the corporate communications and marketing elements at the company. So that's how I got into Cable and Wireless.
How media or any of these positions media oriented in any way? I know it's media oriented because I still hear you on the radio, sometimes with
correct,
sometimes without. I still hear you on the radio. So how much of that is still part of your job?
Quite a bit of it, Rajiv. In fact, at one point I said I am probably one of the few persons who has something going on each of the radio stations, because I would be on flow, on flow hour. There would be Kyrie, there'd be Q, there'd be DBS. I'd be doing something there, and there would also be Vibes. You know, so I would always be on one of these radio stations doing something on behalf of the company. Of course, within those roles, you need to do marketing, you need to be on radio, promoting the company's products and services. You need to, I actually host a show for the company, a monthly show on the radio. So if the general manager has to come on the radio, I would be the one doing the interviews. Anything that would involve the company, if we have to do TV interviews, I would be the one doing it. Anything that would have to do with the media, that would be my role. So the media is still a very, very important part of the role that I play at Cable and Wireless, Dominica.
So as a woman, you said, I mean, just going back a little bit, you said that when you went for the Chronicle interview that the manager there didn't want to really hire a woman or whatever. And then, you know, but it doesn't sound like you ever got deterred. It doesn't sound like you ever got scared to put in for a job or, you know, put yourself out there. You know, even today, how do you feel about that entire scenario where there might be young women, you know, who feel like, you know, I'm not going to put myself out there because it's not for me. And, you know, what's your advice to younger women who are looking to maybe follow your example in trying to pursue whatever dreams that they might have? What's your idea in terms of, you know, how they pursue it, how they approach different situations that might not be favorable to them, but that they know that they want to get involved in?
First of all, Dwayne, I think one of the things that is critical in what you're asking is that you need to have a certain level of confidence in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know what it is you want, and you have to go after it. Somebody may attempt to close the door. So the secretary, wherever it is that you're going to apply for the job, might say to you, well, we're not hiring anyone at the moment. Okay, Miss Secretary, fine, you're just one door. There are other doors. Then you go around it. Listen, contacts, you need to make contacts. You need to form relationships. You have to know who is who and who you need to talk to get whatever it is that you want. Never be discouraged by a door that is closed. There are many other doors to be opened. Sometimes within that same realm that you're trying to enter that particular door, go the side way if you need to. And I'm not talking about going the side way and trying to overstep on other people and that kind of thing. What I'm saying is that if the secretary is not going to allow you, get an email address for somebody. Get a number for the person that you're trying to get to. But don't give up. Have the level of confidence that you need. Believe in yourself. Know that you're good enough to get whatever it is that you're going after. Believe that. Believe in yourself. And just don't give up. Keep on trying. You have to keep on trying. That is the only way that you're going to get through with whatever it is, whatever goal, whatever objectives that you set for yourself. It may not happen. So Mr. Osman may have said, put down his foot and say, I am not hiring women. But it does not mean that I could not go searching at DBS, that I could not go to Kyrie FM, that I could not go somewhere else, or the Sun newspaper, whatever the case might be. But you just should not just cave in just because somebody tries to block your success or block whatever it is that you're trying to do.
So it's kind of cool that you spoke about, being confident and not backing down. And so I'm going to take us back a little bit.
Sure.
Queen Show competition.
Oh my goodness. What do you want to know, Hadley?
Ferdina Frampton is a former Dominica Carnival Queen Show contestant.
Yes.
Why? What?
Why? When?
Just why?
How?
No, just tell me why.
Because I was asked, and I was asked repeatedly by Nigel Francis and Andrea Shillingford and other members of the Queen Show committee at the time. And I'll tell you something, guys, if you're lacking any bit of confidence in yourself, right? And I'm not saying that I lacked any confidence at the time, but if you are, and the Queen Show committee comes to you and they say, you're beautiful, you're talented, and we think that you could be a viable contestant for the Miss Dominica pageant. That alone in itself just raises your self-esteem exactly. I'll tell you something about that Queen Show. I was probably about 160 pounds at the time. Yes, hardly. Now, you need to be at least about 110. What happened, Hadley? I have my wife.
You said what you said, and then you said, yes, Hadley. I wasn't expecting that.
Yes, I was about 160 pounds. And that in itself should have been a deterrent. But I said, what? I remember speaking to my parents about it. They were not for it at all. They were not supporting me in any way at the time of that Queen Show. So I take a fessa on my own.
It was like dice then.
Yes. So first of all, we had to deal with the weight situation, right? So guys, and I don't want anybody to do what exactly it is I'm going to say, but I went on a slim fast diet. I had slim fast for breakfast, slim fast for lunch, slim fast for dinner. And within 30 days, no joke, I lost 30 pounds.
Wow.
To the point where I started
buy
losing
some
so
Slim
much
Fast,
more
right?
weight. Yes, I started losing so much more weight. I was going to the gym as well. And I started losing so much weight that at one point they said, no, 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 you need to stop. Determination, you see? I was determined to do it because there were some people who said I could not. So I was determined to do it. I lost the weight and I was ready for the Miss Dominica pageant, right? I had two guys working with me, Alex Bruno and my brother Bernard. I didn't really have a chaperone per se at that time. I think around that time, the committee would assign people to you, whatever it was. I remember Daily Coffee working with me as well. But my brother and my friend Alex Bruno, these were the people who assisted me. And on the night of the show, guys, guess who was in the front seat? My father and my stepmother.
Wow.
They were front and center coming to support me.
I think they always come around, you know. I remember back in the day when I used to, you know, have little girlfriends and whatnot. My grandmother used to tell me, "Pega do all your sense of a moon lawa." You know, like make sure you don't get the person child pregnant. And I was like, no, I'm not trying to do that, but I'm very sure that if I bring a grandbaby home for you, you're gonna grab that baby and run.
Of course, of
You know,
course.
so they always come around. So
Yes.
So
How did I do?
So talent wrong.
So my talent was a talk show. Obviously,
right up your alley there.
Right up your alley.
Written by my brother Bernard Frampton. Guess what though? On the night of the show, things started going awry. So you would have had to have telephone rings, other voices on the other end, and hardly, let me tell you, things just went totally wrong. The phone would ring when it didn't have to. Voices would come up in the middle of me speaking, and things just went really, it was a good talent. It was funny, but things went wrong, and I know that I would have dropped significantly in the talent wrong, not because I was not able to execute the talent well, but because a few things went wrong technically, which really messed things up for me. In the end, I emerged as second runner-up. I was told that myself and the first runner-up were actually tied for first runner-up. For whatever reason, I think she was first. The first runner-up was first in 2 rounds. So they discussed, I guess, and decided the lady with the 2 number ones would have been given the first runner-up nod. So she was first runner-up. I was second runner-up. Priscilla Senville won that year. I got the award for Miss Amity, naturally. And I also got the award for Miss Intelligence Application of Mind, which was very important to me to actually get that award. Yes. So, but it was a good experience.
I like trouble, you know. Was that the
Tell me.
Was that the year when the girl said that her favorite dish was the Pyrex?
No, it would not have been that year, hardly Joseph. No, it was definitely not that. But that was a good experience, and I continue to encourage young women to participate in the Miss Dominica pageant. In fact, I've been involved for like over 20 years, supporting, being on the committee, doing judging of the pre-show, the selection of the girls, you know, that kind of thing. So it's something that I've been very actively involved in over the years, and I will encourage young women, you know, to participate in the Miss Dominica pageant, especially now that there is a scholarship element to it, that a young lady can get the opportunity to go off and get higher education.
Man, I personally have never been to a Queen show in my life, but
not even for the swimsuit round, doing.
No, none of them. Let me tell you something. When I was growing up, I couldn't go to them thing there. I couldn't go to them thing there, you know. And then I left Dominica, you know, in my late teens, so you know, so I didn't really get to go. But okay, so let's kind of bring ourselves to present day. So now, you host your own show.
I do.
In the spotlight. What was the idea for that show? You know, what was the conception, and you know, how did it come to happen?
That's a good question, Dwayne. So I'll tell you how that show actually came about. The Dominica Association of Industry and Commerce was having their annual general meeting. My general manager, Jeffrey Baptiste, was a member of that DIC. I think he still is a member of the executive. And at the time, they wanted somebody to chair the AGM. And I was asked, Lillian Piper, I think, was the president at the time. And I was asked to chair that AGM. while at that AGM, there was a segment of the AGM that focused on some of our stalwart businessmen and women. And they had the opportunity to come up and speak about their experiences in business from way back. I think it was Mr. Gary Ed, Mrs. Armour, and Mr. Macmillan were the three people. And Dwayne, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to these people share their stories, and I'm saying there needs to be a platform to allow people like that to share their stories and their experiences with the wider public. I remember saying on the mic that somebody within the media should take that on. I didn't think about it myself, you know. I said somebody within the media should take this on and you know, start a program that focuses on these people. Alex Bruno in the past had done something on called Positively Dominica on DBS, where he did something somewhat similar. But I left there that day, Dwayne, and I said to myself, I gave it some thought. I said, but wait, Ferdina, you can start that program. Why don't you do it? I remember sending an email to Sheridan Gregoire. And I said, Mr. Gregoire, this is an idea that I have. I would like to do this. It would be 2 hours. The day that I would want is a Monday night, and I want from 8 to 10. Mr. Gregoire came back, endorsed it and all of that, but said that I could only get 6 to 8 because there was another program that was already on from 8 to 10 that somebody else was doing. I think the lawyer was doing, and that person was looking at resuming the program. So I said, no, I held on. And I said, no, I really want 8 to 10. That is the time that I want. And I want a Monday night. I think we held out for about 2 to 3 weeks. And then he came back to me and said, you can have the time 8 to 10 on a Monday night. And that is how the program started. I started with one of the persons who were actually at that DAIC AGM, Mrs. Armour, and she was my very first guest for the In the Spotlight radio show. And it's again all about, you know, sharing the stories of our people. You know, we can deal with topics as well that are of interest to people, as well as, you know, just having this platform where those who are in a position to, or who are able to motivate and inspire others, have a platform to do that through my program. The program will be 8 years in May 13th. Was my very first program 8 years ago. So it will be 8 years in May. Of course, there have been breaks in between Maria, you know, my surgery, you know, illness, whatever the case might be. But the program has been going strong. And whenever there's a break and I come back, no matter how long the break was, my fans, the listeners are always happy to have me back, and they always come back stronger than ever.
So this is entirely Ferdina production. You dictate everything that goes on. Nothing
Correct.
Filtered by anybody else.
No. And to be honest with you, that was one of the reasons why I actually selected Q95, because I knew there would not be any interference. So it's actually my show being hosted on Q95. And Mr. Gregoire does not get involved in my show. He does not get involved in who I bring on the show. I decide on my guests. I produce my own show. I am hoping that I can get some help, in terms of at least a young person. I had someone, but, she couldn't continue with me for whatever reasons. But, I wish I could get somebody that I could really mold and train and, assist in developing and being able probably not to do the In the Spotlight, because I think the show identifies with me. I do not think anyone else should do my show. It's my show. It would be very different if somebody else does it. Nobody else hosts for Oprah or anything like that. So it's my show. I do not want anybody else hosting. If I'm not available, I'm not available. I'll do a repeat. But, I really wish that I could get somebody to just, mold and really help to get, the type of experience and knowledge that comes with being a good, solid broadcaster.
So for all the listeners out there, you heard it. That's an open casting call. Looking for somebody.
I don't have money to pay you because I make no money from the show. In fact, I spend money on the show. I make no money from the show. I really want to thank Berger for giving me the time, so I do not necessarily pay for the time. So he gives me the time, but anything else that I have to do, I have to dip into my pocket. And there's been a few persons who have been very helpful, who have contributed to the show. But other than that, it's not a money-making show. I don't make no money from this show.
So the sponsors back home, you all need to come through for Ferdines, eh?
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
come through. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask. I like asking the troublesome questions.
That's okay, Hadley. Ask away, my dear.
And before you continue,
Yeah.
any plans to move from behind the radio to something more televised, something more like a Wendy Williams, a sit down, be more in front of the camera live? Any future?
A shoe cam.
I guess that's probably left to be seen, but it's not something that I'm interested in right now because I am really, consumed with a lot. So that takes a lot of work. It's one thing to sit down in a studio. I can come with a dress, no bra, whatever I choose to. You understand? With television, it's a whole process.
Whole production. Yep.
It's a whole production, and that's not something that I'm prepared to take on right now.
Okay.
Yes.
So why is you trying to become troublesome question to ask? You don't behave yourself.
I want to hear. I'm waiting, Dwayne. I'm waiting.
So such a voice like Ferdines, a personality like Ferdines. How have you stayed away from your voice being part of the message of any political party?
Oh, hardly, my dear. That is something that I will not get involved in. I do not. My father was very much involved in politics at one point in his life.
That's what I know.
I experienced some of it. Something major happened to my father, and those of you who know the story of him being stoned at House of Assembly, in the yard, at DBS, whatever the case might be. And I know that was connected to politics. I want no part in politics. Nobody shouldn't come to me and ask me if I would be interested. There's been little whispers here and there about, whether you think Ferdina would be interested in doing this or in doing that. Nobody has ever approached me directly, but they would be wasting their time if they did. I am not interested in politics. The type of politics, I know once you get involved in politics, you have to be prepared for any and everything.
Yep.
I am not mentally prepared to have. People talk. People will always talk about you, no matter what. You understand me, Happy? People mind your business. People check to see what you're up to and so on. But once you make that step towards politics, but Jay, all the cobwebs in your cupboard coming out, things that
public. Yep.
you never even knew about yourself. I am not interested at this point in my life to go through anything like that. And so, I will go to vote when I need to. I will not discuss politics. You will not see me discussing it on social media, probably a general comment or a general statement, but you will not see me, discussing it on social media. I will discuss it with my friends or those I choose to, which would be a very chosen few. But other than that, no, I would not lend my voice to any political party, not for ads, not for endorsement, not for anything like that. As I said, I will go to vote. That's my democratic right to do so, and to do so for whomever I choose. Based on whatever reasons I choose to decide to vote, whether it be for the parliamentary representative, whether it be for the party overall, whatever the case might be. But I do not see anything political in my future. What I will say, I don't know what the future holds. I may change my mind, and we may come back to this very show and say, but Ferdines was on top of the thing saying, don't approach her, don't come to her, and whatever the case might be. But for now, it's a big fat not interested. Yes.
and to be quite honest, I have to say I respect that. I respect that a lot, because from the outside looking in, I'm not involved in politics. I follow a lot of politics, American.
I do as well.
But sometimes I wish some people would just say that, because they don't go into it for the right reasons. They go in for different reasons, and then that's how you end up in, the scandals and all this stuff. And, so I respect that that you're saying, listen, I don't want to get involved. You again, like you say, you're a citizen, you pay taxes, you have a right to vote, you have a right to your opinion, right? On political issues or whatever it is. But I respect that a lot, I have to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the reason why I ask that is because more and more every election cycle, I hear certain voices that I know very well who I wish did exactly what you were doing. Just stay
Stay away.
away from it. Because at that point, what we know you for, we eventually, some people going to be like, I don't want to hear that person anymore. For example, look at your friend Alex. You know, we know Alex to be that joyful, and I'm not saying that he shouldn't. He's a professional at it, but look at what it did to him. Like, a lot of people forget that that is the guy who used to make us laugh. That is the guy who used to bring us the funny calypsos. And right now, simply because he opened his mouth and he shared his political view, which is his right, then we no longer care about the fact that that man used to make us laugh for an entire calypso show, you know. So
I mean, we live in a society of now, you know. People forget.
yeah,
People forget, you know, things. You know, talk to the youths of today. They'll tell you LeBron James better than Michael Jordan. So it just, you know, we live in a time of now, you know. So that doesn't necessarily surprise me. But like I said, I really respect that, because, you know, sometimes I feel like sometimes not just in politics, right? You meet people in different jobs, and look at how your father was involved in the radio and media and all of that, and you, like you said, you were not interested. It came to you, right, naturally, right? And look at, and you are natural at it, right? All the people in the chat right now, everybody's saying that as soon as they heard your voice, they had to find out who is this person, and you know, all these things, and you know, so you know, it's important that we try to find the niche, you know, and I'm happy to know that you found a niche that you are, you know, that you are happy with. It's something that you enjoy doing. And like you said, you took certain chance, you make certain choices throughout your career. When, you know, you said that media was not necessarily, you know, something that paid a lot, so you made a choice to go into corporate America. I was say corporate Dominica, right? And you know, pursue it like that. But you're still involved in the media to some, you know, degree, right? So, you know, I really like that, man. I really like that.
Thank
I have
you.
a question for you. I have a question
Ask
for you.
away, ask away, guys.
It's gonna be a little bit in hardly lean troublesome, you know, a little
That's
bit.
okay. Ask the troublesome question. I'll answer. I'm open.
So what's up with Ferdines in terms of you know, give us a little secret about you that nobody knows, or not many people know.
Okay. Probably I could say something a little personal.
you wanted to
Yeah,
talk
man.
about,
Go ahead.
yeah?
Go ahead.
I mean, I think most persons know, one, that I'm not married.
Right.
I think that most persons know that I don't have children as yet. So probably I would want them to know that, don't think because I am not yet married or that I don't have children that I wouldn't love to have that experience and that I wouldn't love to have that family life. You know, I'm not going to be hypocritical about my life and you know, my experiences. I believe that life is about choices and the choices that we make. Because the choices are sometimes right there, and you decide: do I drink the glass of wine? Do I drink the glass of water? Or do I do this instead of that? My personal journey where and I know probably you guys may not probably want to ask me about that, but it's okay. I'm open in sharing. How would I put it? I would say that I've not been very lucky with love. I don't know if that makes sense. So I've had, you know, some relationships that have left me heartbroken, depressed, distressed, unhappy over the years. The white collar job ones, the blue collar job ones, probably those on the other side of the fence. And you know, it's either you're a womanizer, you know, with a whole lot of women. It's either you're a cheater or you're a liar, getting in trouble with the law, you know, whatever the case might be. So I felt along the way, guys, that, you know, probably it may never come for me, but I believe that it will. You know, a year ago, And I don't normally talk about my relationship and so on. You wouldn't see me talking about anything like that on Facebook. I met a young man and a gentleman, and he has been treating me so well and making me feel so good about myself and confident, all of that, that I believe that the marriage is a possibility, the family life, the children, if God decides that I'm still able to have, if that's still a possibility, I believe that it's still there to happen. So people might think, oh, Ferdine's not interested in getting married. Ferdine's probably not interested in having children. Folks, I'm very much interested in having a mini. Whether it be a boy or a girl, how could we not want one of that, So that is something that possibly people might not really know, in that I am really interested in having that type of life, that family life, the husband and the child, if it's one, or children if it's two, not more than that, Edwin. But definitely, and I'm not ashamed to say that, I've made some wrong choices where guys are concerned. I'm just going to be real about it. We all make those mistakes. And at some point, Hadley, you have to realize that, you've made enough of those mistakes, girl. What you doing? Get yourself together. You understand? Yeah. So it's been that way. Sometimes I wonder, and that was said to me once by a counselor, and I'll even say further, Hadley, that there have been times that I've had to get counseling, after I've had to deal with a bad relationship or something. And I remember one counselor saying to me that, it could be that people are coming in your life because of who you are, because of your name. You are Ferdina Frampton. Somebody's shoulder will be lifted, to say that they were Ferdina Frampton and so on. But probably they never really cared about you, the person. They really just cared about the name and being associated with the person and the name. You understand? And I think that's something we have to look out for. As women, I've been through some experiences that I wouldn't want other women to experience. It's been tough, and so I think it comes down, Hadley. The bottom line, it comes down to the decisions and the choices that we make. I think we have to be strong enough. Even if there was one time I got into a relationship simply because I had just gotten out of one. And I was terribly, I don't know if I want to use the word lonely, but I was alone, and this person came my way, and, I made the choice to get involved with the person, and it turned out to be a disaster. But bottom line is, it's all about the choice that we make. We have to take the time, evaluate, look at the pros, look at the cons. No one will be perfect. You will never find that perfect guy. That does not exist. You will not even possibly find a half perfect guy. But there are certain things that you can look for and that you can see from the very first time you encounter somebody, or the second or by the third time. You can tell what that person is going to bring into your life. Is it going to be pain, heartache, or is it going to be joy and happiness? And I've learned to try to differentiate and to understand that there is not a perfect guy out there, but there are guys with certain qualities, and the most important quality is someone who makes you happy, someone who puts a smile on your face, someone who shows you that they care about you, that they're not just talking the thing then hardly, but you see the action. They're doing the thing too. Yes.
Well,
that's the case, but I would really want to experience that, that aspect of life.
I just going through some of the comments in the chat there, and I'll put these people on the spot. In case you do not have that child or children, Denise said that you can adopt her. Denise Simon, adopt her. And when you do have that child or children, Joan Frampton said she'll babysit for you.
Yes, yes, she will. I know that for sure. I know I'll be
So
able to
so
depend on her for
so so
that.
so you'll be able
That's
to
my
go.
stepmom.
You'll be able to go through those 9 months, have that baby, and be back to work, knowing that everything is fine. So good.
One thing I really appreciate you sharing that last part of it there is that, you meet a little young women in their 30s, and they all, and well, a lot of them will say, well, I don't care about man, and I don't want man, and all that kind of thing. I really appreciate you just, being honest about it, because
Yeah,
we as
man.
I mean, listen, we as human beings, we're not really meant to be alone, we don't, we meant to have companions, whether it be, a lover or friends or whoever it is. We're meant to be around people and have people around. So, I really appreciate you sharing that. You might just be helping somebody out here,
I'm not
and
going to be hypocritical about that, Dwayne. That is life. That is the reality of life. And all we can do, with those experiences is to try our best to learn from them. We make the mistakes again. We are human beings. But the important thing about it is learning and moving on.
Yeah, and
yep.
I have to say I appreciate you, like, just to echo what Dwayne said. Appreciate you bringing that up because because of the pressures that society has placed on women, when women eventually become all that they can and want to be, some women really get to that point where they're like, I've done everything right.
Mhm.
You know, I've done everything right, and I'm scared of getting into that relationship that will mess up all the work that I've done, the image that I've created for myself, the financial stability that I've created for myself. And there's a lot of women who deliberately just stay away simply because of their success.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's very nice that you can say, with all that success that you've worked for, that you still willing to open up to somebody else and share that with them. And I hope that resonated in somebody's mind. Some of all you
I
ladies
hope
out
so
there
too.
who are single, don't give up. Don't say, oh, I can't find a man. Say, I want
Mhm.
to find a man. When he comes around, I will give him that chance to
And
be there.
and and Hadley, can I also share something?
Mhm.
Sometimes you hear the saying that women are we are our own worst enemy. And it's sad that sometimes you would hear women say, oh, she cannot get a man. Or how come is that person she put herself with? And those kinds of things. And people will say things about you without even knowing your story, without knowing anything about you. And that's something we as women that we need to work on. We need to stop, just judging people and saying things about people and just, thinking it's okay to do that. It is not okay to do that because you don't know my life. You don't know my story. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what caused me to be in certain situations that I am in. You understand? So just to women, let us more support each other rather than bringing down each other, denigrating each other, saying negative things about each other. And sometimes, their situations are not any better. But yet still, they're just bashing and having a field day on somebody else's account just because you're probably more in the public's eye. So people pay more attention to what's going on with your life. They mind your business and all of that. But no, let us be more, let's play more of a supportive role to each other. Yes, a man may have done whatever to me. Instead of going and starting a whole conversation in a nail salon or at a hair salon or whatever the case is, send me a message. Ferdinand, boy, I heard you going through a little rough time. I'm praying for you. Just keep your head up. Everything will be okay. That kind of thing. We don't know that, guys. We don't know that. We don't know that. We revel in other people's downfall,
Yep.
and
Yep.
in the bad things that happen to other women and so on. And it's bad. We need to work on that. We need to fix that.
Yep.
So with
Well,
that, we're gonna bring the show to a close. But before we do that, we're just gonna have you remind us when in the spotlights, when you have it in your spotlight show, give us the time where we can listen. Any closing words you want to plug in before we wrap it up?
Okay, so the In the Spotlight radio show airs on a Monday night on Q95 from 8 p.m. And, I encourage persons to continue listening, share with a friend, let them know that it's a good program and a program worthy of your time and a few minutes of 2 hours of your Monday night. I've had situations where a person say to me, oh my God, I cannot go to bathe, I cannot go to eat, I cannot go to do this, I cannot go to do that, because, they're so in tune to the program. So I just want to encourage persons to continue listening to the In the Spotlight radio show. Right. There is, are we wrapping up or there is something that I really wanted to share?
Go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah. Go ahead.
It has to do with education and advancing your education. So as it is right now, guys, I've enjoyed all of this success that I have, having a really good job and all of that without a bachelor's degree. Right? My last formal education was when I attended Clifton Dupini Community College. And when I left Clifton Dupini Community College, I remember trying to get to go overseas to study, and I met with a few roadblocks. One of them was going to Aid Bank and trying to get a student loan to see, how I could get to go study. And when I got to Aid Bank, I was told, and I was not aware of that. I was very ignorant of a lot of things. All I knew is I wanted to go to study. My sister was already, Gail was already out there. And all I know is I wanted to go. And they told me that you need somebody to pay the interest for you while you're gone. I said, what? So I thought you would just get your student loan and then you'd come back to pay your student loan after you'd done with your 4 years or whatever. And I got that surprise. And so I had nobody to do it. I think my father was not working at the time. My mother was just doing her small, little jobs here and there. I had no one to assist me in paying the interest. It would have been about $150 something a month. I remember that clearly. Yes, no one to assist me. And so I had to put that on the back burner. And over the years, guys, it's like that whole experience had just left a very sour taste in my mouth. And I never thought again about going to do it. I was at DBS at one time, and then I went to Cable and Wireless, and I'm making a good salary. I don't really need this. Mm-hmm. And then, one time I decided, no, you need that paper. With all that experience you need that paper. And I will share, it was a Saturday evening after Hurricane Maria. I remember going to the office to do some work on a Saturday. And at that time I used the taxi because my vehicle had gotten affected after the hurricane. And I remember wrapping up, putting up my laptop, putting everything away. And I'm calling the taxi guy and telling him I'm ready to leave, so come check me out. My bag is packed, everything is packed, and I'm waiting. No guy. I called only to find out he had a tire issue. He said, I'm going to be another 20 minutes to another half an hour or something of the sort. I said, oh boy. And I just sat down there, thinking. And guys, for whatever reason, education, UE just came to mind. I pulled out my laptop. I went on the UE website and I started searching and I saw, okay, I could do this and I could do that. By the next week, I had brought in whatever I needed to bring into UE. And by the semester, it was what semester I started? The September 2018. I started in September of 2018, 1 year after the hurricane. I started my degree at UE, doing very well, getting good grades and all of that. It is tough because, online studying is not the easiest of things, especially when you're working and you have a job that is very demanding, when you're doing a radio program and you're involved with in tons of other things. But I've been pursuing, I've been at it, and I am on a short break now. Have to make sure that my eye, recovers well, and then hopefully I resume again in September. But I'm sharing this part because I want you to know that it could be 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later. It's never too late to get that paper. You can do one course per semester if that's what you can afford, but eventually you will get it done. You need to try your best, to go out there and get that piece of paper, get your higher education, even if it's just a bachelor's degree, even if it's just an associate's degree, but get on it and get something going. I think it's one of the best decisions that I made.
That's some great, inspiring.
Yeah, man, I can relate to that, man. I remember when I first moved to the States, and I had no interest in going to school, none, zero. And I remember once my mother told me, she said, Dwayne, you need to go back to school, because whether or not you go back, the time going to pass. So you might as well, in the time passing, do something with it. At one point I used to think I make like $12 an hour. I check it like, boy, I'm making money. What money? $12. I just called Dominic making 1,200 EC a month. I come here making 12 US an hour. I'm like, what?
You roll in.
But education is what, it's big, man. Right now I'm doing my MBA. I think that's it for me after I finish.
Congratulations.
But I can definitely second that and say education is, it might not necessarily get you to the door that you want, but it will open some doors for you. I can
Absolutely. It's asked for, your bachelor's degree is asked for, associates, whatever the case is, it's asked for if you want that job that's going to bring you to building your home, living a comfortable life.
Yep. But for that, we're about to end, but
yes.
We normally take questions from our guests, and it's something that you mentioned in your bio with us. Just a quick run through of some of the awards that you've received.
Oh my goodness.
just point form, just call them out.
Oh gosh, at Cable and Wireless, I received the Employee of the Quarter, I think once or twice. I received another award at Cable and Wireless for my contribution to one of the hurricanes. I don't remember which one. The Roseau City Council recognized me. Oh boy, hardly. I don't remember the rest. It's a few. I don't remember the rest.
Anyways, well, I guess we're waiting for you to get that merit. What do you call it again, Rajiv? The
Meritorious Award.
Yes. Dominica Award,
Yes.
Rajiv maybe can reset that whole thing for you. Rajiv, give her the award right now.
Give her the award right now. Let's go. Come on. Let's pick it. Let's pick it into existence. Come on, man. Before the show ends.
You have to give me the award of president first. So I can
okay,
pick it into existence.
Yeah, man.
Ferdina,
yes.
We've been receiving messages from a lot of women, and they especially want us to express our gratitude again for you being so personal. After we segue from that professional into the personal, I think your experience kind of resonated for a lot of women out there. So thank you I can't say on behalf of the women, but thank you. I just relay in the message.
You can say it, why not?
Why not, man? Just don't say thank you on behalf of us women.
But when Ferdina was talking Ferdina said something about she made a comment about men and hardly say, yeah, I can relate. I was like, oh yeah?
Was it one of the bad things?
No. You said something, he said something like, he can relate, and I go to it, but you were talking, I didn't interrupt you.
I cannot recall saying such.
Don't worry, we record it, I'll go back and get it.
So thank you very much for coming on tonight. I think everybody enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed being on the other side as much as you enjoyed being, the host. It has been a pleasure to have you on. We just want to let the listeners know that next week we're going to be next week or the week after? Next week?
Week-
2 weeks.
week
2
after.
weeks.
In the next 2 weeks, we're gonna be back on. We won't have a guest that week. It's gonna be an open conversation to be determined. We have not yet settled on the topic. We have a few ideas, but you know, a lot
We have
may
a few
change,
ideas. Yep.
so the topic might have to change.
That'll be February 9th.
So,
I'm 10th, sorry.
February 10th, yeah. 9:21 right now. What 10:21? Was it that 10:21?
10:21 in Dominica, we boy.
Local time in Dominica, 10:21.
Going forward, we're gonna start putting what is the Dominica time on the flyer because I got
Yes.
Yeah.
Even I thought it was 8 o'clock my time.
right.
That was
I
that was,
got
that was my,
I got a couple of messages at 7, like, hey, where is he live? I'm like, no. it-
Yes, because I sent this to my entire broadcast list.
Oh, nice. Thank
Yes,
you. We
I hope
appreciate
you got
it.
some new viewers from tonight.
we hope so, and we appreciate
hope
the
so as
promo.
well.
We appreciate
Yes.
the promo and
Most welcome. Most welcome.
So,
I understand what it is to market, hardly.
Oh, you definitely do.
All the best with that.
So-
Also, by the way, all the best with the degree. We'll be looking forward to seeing those graduation photos or the yes, finally done.
I know, right?
Good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to Talk to Ting, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you for
Good night,
having me.
everybody.
Thank you for having me again. Good night.
Nice.
Good night.